Okay, everybody, now I'm about to start my speech on. Sorry, excuse me. I forgot my speech. I feel so dumb. I feel like I'm about to faint. Now, when I first saw this back in my high school years in a speech and debate tournament, I didn't know what was happening to the poor lady. However, it soon dawned on me that this poor soul suffered from anxiety, severe anxiety. My name is Dominic Baroni, and I've seen an arising situation happening in the Western world known as speech anxiety. And hence the name, speech anxiety is when you feel extremely anxious in this type of environment, giving out speeches to individuals, one on one even. But the most common is giving out presentations to, say, a teacher, a group of individuals, including a class. Now, this has become a rising issue even though I am one of these people who don't really suffer from this. Ever since I was a kid, I always felt energetic towards giving speeches. I always felt excited to give speeches, usually the first to present himself and to give out what he thought. So, even though I can't necessarily relate, it doesn't mean I can't understand, and of course, I'm only an exception. After all, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, 74% of Americans don't like this type of environment that I'm in right now, such as giving a presentation. They despise it. But the issue is that this is a problem, and some people might say, well, we're coming to a day and age where we don't need to be in person. Usually it will be just one on one. So why would there ever be a need for individuals giving out a presentation like this? Well, this is where the issue lies. People with a major such as mine, where mine is mechanical engineering, it's not enough to just do your job, but to also present your works to groups and individuals alike to make sure that your thoughts are out there. And this could be a huge roadblock to any individual, such as myself, to reach academic and economic success. Which is why I make the statement that speech anxiety is a rising conflict in the Western world. However, there are ways to combat it. And bringing up my points that it will most likely develop in childhood, but even then and onwards, from childhood to adolescence and adulthood, there are ways to combat it. Now, let's begin that saying that, well, speech anxiety, like a weed in a garden, is usually planted very early on in our lives. So, there has been evidence shown that children have suffered from some type of speech anxiety. In 2018, a psychiatric report was shown conducted by many psychiatrists, such as Evelyn Hairbyne, that conducted an experiment on third graders and fourth graders on presenting speeches, showing any indicator such as, hey, I feel nervous about giving the speech, or sweating on the palms to show for any type of speech anxiety. So the mere fact and the presence of it being there is evidence enough to know that these kids will usually feel the same way from early on. Now, when it comes to that, a lot of individuals understand, among many psychiatrists, that child development is crucial, which, with speech anxiety this young, can cause a problem for younglings. Psychologists and psychiatrists stemming from Sigmund Freud and Yonder that when a child doesn't deal with these type of emotions or deal with this type of stress properly, it leads to dramatic effects of when they could develop into adulthood. And it causes much more problems than that. Which is why when we identify it being this young, it's important that we also must combat it this young as well. However, even if they develop stress anxiety this young, that doesn't mean that we stop, and that doesn't mean that we can't try to combat it any other way. Now, there are ways to already combat speech anxiety even to kids. According to the same study, you have the type of experiments to help reduce speech anxiety. And it was shown that there was a positive correlation regarding the practice of the speech anxiety, but also a positive correlation of the type of lack of methods used to treat the speech anxiety. But it was also shown a positive correlation with individuals' reduced stress and anxiety levels when the methods were practiced, meaning that the kids actually have benefits of doing these methods to help their speech anxiety. But what about kids? What about adults? Well, it's also shown in 2021 another psychiatric report conducted by multiple psychiatrists again, such as Rachel Day Jong, that there were different other methods to help treat this type of speech anxiety, which all shown a positive correlation regarding reduced stress levels and less anxiety with the more that they practice this method into giving out their presentations. And that, in its very essence, shows good report that we can combat against this. And this is why it's important that as young as possible and onwards, that we must combat against this type of disease, basically destroying our livelihoods. So, as shown again, that, well, speech anxiety is something of a problem when it comes to people of the United States. It can be a problem stemming all the way back from childhood, but that doesn't mean that we stop because it's also shown that we have ways to combat it, ways to help with alleviating this speech anxiety and stress. And only then will we start to give more research and try to give in more results into trying to help treat this speech anxiety. Only then now can we be able to finally present our speeches calm and collected. Thank you.